You know, it's bizarre. With Fear and Hunger blowing up in the last year, I was expecting someone to have already discussed what I want to talk about today. And yet, every time I check on YouTube, all I see is the 67th video about the gods, or Legard, or all the endings explained, but no one ever talked about what could be possibly the real hero of the dungeon. So, come with me, cause we will talk about the true story of Isayah in Fear and Hunger. Let's start with a simple question first of all. Who is Isayah? Isayah is an NPC you can find inside of the dungeon. He sells you some maps, which are able to lead to some treasures in Mahabre, and is also essential towards achieving a Kahara S ending, because Isayah is the one who possesses the map required for the crown. The last important trait to mention for now is that he has the plague. This is confirmed by the coin flip attack he does, in which he literally gives you the plague, or even by just talking to him.
I already am dying. The plague is eating me slowly. I have nothing to lose.
This is what the game will let you know on the surface. Now, let's try to analyze more what he says. He describes himself as a veteran of the dungeon, and the maps come from a manuscript he found. And generally, he seems to have his business in the dungeon. Now, let me ask you a question. Isn't that weird? We can understand he is not lying about the veteran part. He is in the dungeon after all. There is another merchant who instead will never enter in there. Isayah instead is inside. In that part, he is not lying for sure. But if he really has his business, how come no one knows him? Tortur never mentioned him. Rudimer doesn't leave any possible hint in his diaries. The Knights of Rondon never ran into him. There isn't a single NPC with a single line of dialogue related to Isayah. He is invisible to everyone. But up to this point, it's still possible that he intentionally avoided any possible encounter, and he never delved too deep into the dungeon. After all, he is surprised when reaching Mahabre. But then, why is there a statue of Isayah in the Golden Temple Road? Let's take a small detour to talk about something else, then we will go back to this. Let's go to the temple district. You can see a lot of the golems created by the gods working in there. And in particular, I want you to pay attention to the busy figurine. The busy figurine is moving some chests in the temple district. And in that time, you cannot find the treasures with the maps. You could say that's just a coincidence, and him and the chests are just two completely unrelated things. Yeah, and maybe nothing means anything at this point. You see, Fear and Hunger does not have a lot of NPCs in the game, and each one of them has a purpose, regardless of how minuscule it may be. In that same district, everyone else is important. The chief sells stuff. The small one will become the nameless figurine in the future. The old guardian talks about the king, and later becomes also a boss fight. Do you really want me to believe that casually, this dude was just placed in there for no reason? No, they are executing the orders of the gods. The gods told him to hide those chests around Mahabre, hiding riches, secret incantation scrolls, and the literal crown of the king. Now, considering all of this, isn't it a little bit too convenient that Isayah was able to find a manuscript regarding Mahabre treasure chests despite never entering inside of Mahabre? He is definitely lying. He already entered inside of Mahabre and spent a lot of his time searching for treasures, while being corroded more and more by the plague. Let's go back to the statue in the Golden Temple now. That place is the King's Passage. As the name suggests, it's the road traversed by everyone who aims to become the King of Mahabre. The true King of Mahabre, designated by the gods, never returned. For that reason, in the current moment, new gods are able to rule over Mahabre. For example, the king in the Mahabre we visit, the one who sits on the throne, is Francois. And by connecting the dots, it isn't too out of the ordinary to think that the statues on the sides of the road can represent previous kings, previous new gods, which later gave up on their throne for whatever reason, such as joining the others in the hall after they stopped having influence. And we know there were tons of new gods before this moment. An example is Battle in the Temple District. And by just taking a look inside of the Hall of the New Gods, you can know the list is very long. Yet they were basically erased from common knowledge with time, which is probably the same thing that happened with Isaiah. Yes, if I still did not make it clear, I am gonna say it. Isaiah is a new god. At one point in history, he reached the ancient city of Mahabre, overcame the trials and ascended, becoming king of Mahabre. It is not clear how Isaiah decided to rule, not even clear if he really went ahead and actively ruled. What is certain though, is that he kept traveling among people in the Kingdom of Rondon. And if you look more closely at the statue on the road, it doesn't seem to have a mask. When he ascended, the plague still wasn't spreading, so he was still sane. But this is also curious. It is possible he started wearing the mask to hide his face from people, to not be recognized as the new god. You know, there is another theory currently going around about the High Priestess Celine, the one who asked Torture to bring Legard to lower floors, being Nilvan in disguise. We will not talk about that theory, for now. But as you can see, it's not too absurd to think that new gods go around the normal people in disguise. And the disguise of Isaiah is bigger than you may think. There is another detail you may have missed. Isaiah is one of the only characters featured in Fear and Hunger 1 which you can't ask about to the whole of the new gods. There are multiple implications of this. What I believe is that Isaiah isn't even his real name. It's just a mask he wore to not give away its true name. And if you don't know his name, you can't ask to the new gods about him. Isaiah probably was a very simple person. Didn't care too much about humankind or changing the destiny. He just wanted power and money to do what he wants. And for sure, for a lot of centuries, he was able to. But things changed after he took the plague. Let me precise something. The concept of a new god is mostly similar to the one of a human. They just have more power and supposedly longevity in life. But the pain, the corrosion of the skin, that part is not removed by the ascension. New gods have the potential to live forever. Is he gonna live the rest of eternity suffering and being corroded by the plague? Prometheus had his liver eaten from an eagle every day as a punishment for stealing the fire from the gods. Does Isaiah even deserve this? This is probably the moment in which he got an epiphany. He realized he wasn't the only one to suffer. He wasn't the only one with the plague. Even other people were taken by it in the Kingdom of Rondon. Now, they were on the same boat. They shared the same identity. And Isaiah felt that, even if he probably didn't know any of those people, being in the same conditions must have moved something inside him. Isaiah learned what was empathy. Always thinking about himself and living a good life without caring about others. Now the fate put him in the conditions to actually realize he is not alone in this world. And there is nothing more comforting than interacting with someone who can understand your pain. He had to do something. He saw the dungeon, he saw Mahabre. He knew there could have been something in all the centuries new gods spent in the library. Someone must have found a way to heal the plague. He was able to find the manuscript in the Grand Library and started searching for the treasures, hoping it would lead him to a power strong enough to purify his body. But unfortunately, his time was not infinite anymore, being always more and more corroded. He didn't know if he would have been able to finish his research. For that reason, he decided to stop overworking, and instead, to make someone else do the job for him. Of course, in all of this, he still maintained his greediness. You still need 50 coins to buy the maps. Also because someone randomly donating you stuff could be suspicious. Especially in a place like the dungeon. But once he finds someone ready to try, he follows them from a distance. He is a veteran after all, and waits until someone is able to find the treasure. Maybe what Isaiah is searching for will be able to help him and the people outside. But he also knows how greedy a man can be. He is too, after all. So, once you discover the treasures, he doesn't even check what you found. He just attacks you, hoping there is a salvation in the content of the chests. After all, as he says,
"It is a dog-eat-dog world."
But regardless of everything, he may still feel some remorse for what he's doing. Normally in a battle, if you say please don't, the enemy will either do more creepy stuff or say that it's your fault. Isaiah instead stays silent. He knows he has to do this, wanting it or not. But unfortunately, corroded a lot by the plague, he is nothing more than a simple guy with a blade. And despite that, his arm still has one of the highest evasions in the game. Unfortunately, he gets taken down. Still, he stays there. He doesn't go back to the Hall of the New Gods. Why? Remember when I said Isayah may have lied even on his name? What does the name Isayah mean? The meaning of Isayah is God saves. He thought he was gonna be the god to save the people from the plague. And probably, the people affected by the plague still believed in him. And now, he stays down, trying to regain the energy to stand up again and continue his endless research. And there is one single hint to his possible real name in the game files. His name in the game files is Ausar, which is one of the vocalization of hieroglyphics for Osiris, god of fertility, afterlife, the dead, and resurrection in the ancient Egypt. Of all the stuff we discussed today, the thing that fascinates me the most is the role of Isayah in the game, the parallelism between Nosramus and Isayah. What I mean is that Isayah is for Kahara what Nosramus is for Enki. Hope, possibilities, struggle, and a future. Enki was guided by Nosramus for his S-ending, was told the secrets for the true enlightenment. Kahara instead gets guided by Isayah maps to the actual treasure that will be able to save his wife. It is also deeply connected to the nature of the characters we are talking about. Enki considers knowledge, the abstract, the most important thing, while Kahara is mostly connected to physical stuff. Money, even their stories have similarities. They both found a reason to keep going. They both learned what's empathy. Isayah wanted to extinguish the plague from everyone. Kahara wanted to achieve freedom for the woman who became his wife. Kahara may not have found the Holy Grail inside the treasures, but he found his own hope. Despite paying the price of being tormented by the dungeon forever, he was able to free his wife and his future son. The hope will keep going even in their small world. Could we say that, even if indirectly, Isayah was able to save someone? So, that's my theory. If you arrived at this point, let me know what you think about it, because I really think there is more to the character of Isayah, and I feel like the community didn't pay too much attention to him for reasons. What I mean is, stop making theories on is this ending canon or is that ending canon, talk about the actual characters, goddammit! But anyways, if you liked the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, because that's gonna help me a lot. But for now, I was Frapollo94, and I will see you